But let's get into talking about modal shift. There's no better person to talk about this than our next guest, Nicholas Shipe. He's the director of premium transportation at Circle Logistics. Nick, I don't know if you have any thoughts about Ford Air on the expedite side.
No, I mean they've definitely done quite a bit in the past here. Obviously a pretty big player with a lot of the automotive and expedited industry. A little bit of breaking news there too. So kind of had to do a little bit more research myself on what's going on.
Yeah, it's a big hang over their stock. It's resolved, but you really are involved in a lot of the intermodal business for Circle. Tell us a little bit about what you do for Circle and how you think about modal shift.
Yeah. So again, I'm Nick. I'm director of premium transportation. Do a lot within the chemical and oil side material, as well as on the automotive expedited side of things.
So you got the automotive expedite business. That's obviously a very intensive business. Runs completely on its own sort of supply chain cadence. What are the automotive manufacturers thinking about right now?
With anything, obviously, with the craziness and the cost and what's going to be available, what's the marketplace going to do, and what's economics doing, there is a lot of toss-up that's just gone on in the last couple of months here. Obviously, everybody's looking at spend. They're concentrated on that, making sure that that's a key focus here. But at the same time, they're also looking at, can I keep my plant going at an operable cost, and looking at all facets there.
Yeah, so I know that automotive expedite, they're one of the biggest users of expedite transportation, at least historically had been. Are they taking advantage of a lot of expedite right now? Is that changing? It seems like it's when automotive is really hot is when they take advantage of it most. What are you seeing from the automotive industry right now?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely has been a lot more that's come out here. You are coming off of some of the summer breaks. And even some of our customers, where years past, they take a couple of weeks off during the summer as a summer shutdown to retool or maybe just catch up on supply of what they need there. We've had some of our customers that have actually stayed open the entire two weeks, or even a skeleton crew on some of them there. So a little bit different this year than even 5 years ago, when it was absolutely crazy busy still. You saw that as an opportunity for them. So we definitely have seen an uptick on the spot market. You obviously are seeing a lot more with their dedicated trucks, either A, running behind schedule, or B, just not able to service the lanes that they've had, and those have definitely shifted into an expedited world.
Yeah, my understanding is it's really the reason the automotive is the commercial light duty trucks is what's keeping them busy for some of the OEMs. Probably bonus depreciation is driving some of that. Every farmer and HVAC repairman wants that truck. The new, the Raptor. The joke is when oil prices are high, you see the Raptors show up out in the Permian. I imagine that's what's driving some of the demand, and the reason the OEMs are keeping their production lines open.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, you look at even somebody like Stellantis that's coming out with quite a few new trucks out into the marketplace, even at higher oil prices right now. And typically, you would see the larger trucks, larger engines, sales decrease just because of those higher costs. And now you're seeing actually more opportunities of those different versions coming out here right now. So yeah, you're exactly right there.
Does that tell you a little bit about the economy? Are you feeling bullish based on what you're seeing and what you're hearing?
I hope so. Let's definitely
You're not going to answer that.
Keep that. Yes. Not yet. I still think we're kind of early into this, right? We had the big shift that happened here 2.5, 3 months ago when you kind of saw the market moving. I mean, obviously there's been predictions all throughout this year of the change, and it's been consistent. We're coming into Q3 here. Things still look pretty good for us, so we're excited.
So let's talk a little bit about intermodal conversion. There's certainly a cost savings element of that available right now in changing from over the road to intermodal, as we've seen truckload rates rise, particularly truckload spot rates, and the intermodal rates really just have not risen as much as those are. So talk us through why all shippers aren't rushing to go ahead and switch to intermodal, what some of those barriers are, and how you all work through that.
is always going to be transportation spend. That's always seems like to be the key indicator. What can we have as whether we do it over the road or if we're going to put it on rail. But in that fashion, we can't also just judge the cost for the rail versus the cost for the truck. Because there's obviously an abundance of other things that go into it, whether it's availability that's going to be on the rail, whether it's the drayage costs, the downtimes, there's a multitude of costs that goes in addition to rail versus a truckload than what just that dollar sign could look at.
So what are some of those other factors? Transit time, you mentioned, availability, open train slots, containers, I imagine tank cars, dray cost, obviously, then in the cost of storage if you haven't executed it appropriately. What are some of those costs that you really weigh out when you're looking at that specifically?
That's definitely one, or quite a few that was numbered there. But a lot of times it's also when things are stuck at the ports and whether they can get there and availability for them to even be able to get it out of the ports and get it onto the rail yards, or even if they're at the rail yards, if they're available. So the downtime, is something specifically, as we were talking with the automotive industry, they have to look at is, yes, is it a cheaper version here, but at the end of the day, if it's stuck on the rail for 5 or 6 days and I needed the container 3 to 4 days before that, it is operating at a higher transportation spend on a rate per mile for truck more important to us than the tens of thousands of dollars it may cost for them to have downtime at the plant.
Nick, we pay attention. We get the weekly AAR report and we look at the bulk the bulk rail traffic. Obviously, tankers are a big piece of that. This year, they seem to be doing pretty well in terms of volume. What is your read in terms of how are the railroads responding from a service standpoint right now?
We've definitely seen where it's been limited to what goes on the truck versus what goes on the rail there. But we're also starting to see at the beginning of the year that there was a lot of those tanks that were not available at the time. And so we had a lot of our shippers that were actually converting that typically loads that do go onto the rail because of, whether it's just a cost, whether it's a keeping the product heated, whether it's a few other things that just because of rail car availability that they did have to make that shift. And we still continue to see that to this day. There's, especially in the chemical and the oil, there's obviously a lot that's going on whether the products are available. And so, whether that plant's able to make it in time to hit the rail cars as well has come into a huge factor here.
Now, are they using truck? Is this a fungible volume where they move, if they can't hit the rail in time, they're moving it by truck?
Yes, correct.
And what are the commodities that you typically are involved in? Like, what is the stuff that really they depend on you guys for?
A lot of it has to do with different oils, whether it just be the commercial oils or if it's transformer oils, additives, some of the different chemicals that we're able to do quite a bit, non-hazardous. But we're also starting to get into a lot of the wastewater that's coming off of us as well.
So that's really for the fracking. Are you seeing, with high oil prices, there's this big question about, is there increased activity in the Permian? Are you seeing anything that gives you optimism about U.S. oil production?
It certainly seems like that's the shift. Obviously, not to get into a political conversation here, but a lot with what's going on overseas here. We have a lot of customers that are looking at what are their options here in the United States to continue to service their customers. And that has definitely made a voice in things of prepping us to be available for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the United States, the Americas, I should say, are the one place in the world that is it's not in a conflict zone that you can get energy and derivative products. It's surprising how many people have missed that headline, because if you're going to build an industrial economy, you need energy. That's the most important component into the industrials. And frankly, you got to get it from a place that you're not getting disruptions from. So I would expect to see more investment across that sector. Are you seeing anything in terms of like what it's going to look like in 12 months from now?
Couldn't say officially yet, but like I said, it definitely seems like our customers are prepping us right now that is their strategic outlook of where they're going to be looking for is having more energy based in the US, having it transferred here versus getting it from overseas and moving that as an opportunity that we're having to take it from there.
Now, how much of that is export versus just moving domestic to production facilities?
Most of the business that we're doing is domestic.
Got it. Yeah, I think it's, Julie, I think about the importance of our energy sector in the United States and just how, frankly, how blessed we are to have so much energy availability and the ability to extract it. And I think, Nick, the policies have, the permitting has been challenging over the last couple of decades, a lot of NIMBYism across the country, but we're always reminded when we have an energy shortage or an energy challenge or prices that we need it. It is life, it is the economy, and it's great to see that companies are responding to it by moving freight that way.
Yeah, we certainly hope so as well. It definitely does seem a good tendency that we see in 26 and moved into 27 and 28.
Yeah, amazing.
So Nick, to sort of wrap us up with this, if a shipper is thinking about, you guys specialize obviously in chemical bulk, liquid bulk, you mentioned that. If they are thinking about the complexities of moving chemicals and what mode they should move it, what are some things that they often don't take into account that you bring to their attention that they should be thinking about?
Yeah, really just the requirements to be able to get pickup and offload. That's a lot of things that we get caught up with customers, obviously, from the initial sale of that product that's going out to them doesn't always correlate to what is needed at the sites. One of the things that we strategically do with our customers is whether it's a project or a spot load or, dedicated lanes, we want to make sure that we have all information of where our shippers are, where our receivers are, what requirements are going to be needed at those facilities before we're sending a truck in. Our biggest thing is we never want to delay production, whether that's production that's at the shipper and we have the right type of washes or the right type of equipment to load to, in transit and making sure that the product's kept in a safe and, conditioned manner for those tanks and not have any reactions to the final part of delivery and having all the information that we need to be able to offload at a sensitive time. We do a lot of projects where it's the startup, and so to us sometimes maybe we're having to wait at that receiver, but we would rather have all the components ready for them and go for them than them having to be waiting on us or having a specific component that goes on to there.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. That's Nicholas Shipe, Director of Premium Transportation at Circle Logistics. Thank you for joining us.
It's such a cool job.
Yeah.
Automotive and energy and bulk. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the bulk freight. I've talked
Cooler
about
than
it.
just moving diapers.
And automotive.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is.
These are the unloved parts of the freight market, I think, in some ways, because so many people get focused on CPG.
Yeah.
Like we do business with Walmart and Unilever. Those are great businesses, a lot of volume. I just think the hard stuff is sexy.